through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What's popping, people? What's popping? It's G. We are back in the building, people. We've obviously passed that 600 mark, so we are on the road to 700 subscribers. Big up everybody who's already subscribed to the damn channel. If you guys are watching this, please make sure you smash that like. Please make sure you're sharing these videos out, even if the person ain't even gonna watch the full video. Just share the video out, man. It does brilliant for myself, helps out with the algorithm, all of these other various different things. But the most important thing is please make sure you smash that like button. So today we're here, another scout watch. You guys can see the person on the screen, and today we're going to be looking at Joshua Kimmich. Now, usually I don't really like to delve into these type of players because, you know, unless they're available, but Liverpool don't really go for this kind of caliber of player, if I'm being totally honest with you. You know, the last time, obviously, funnily enough, it came from Bayern Munich was Thiago, but you know, we don't really go for these kind of players, you know, world renowned, world class, well, top class, world class, whatever you want to kind of call him. We don't really go for those kind of players. So to hear that he might potentially be up for sale, you know, I find quite shocking more than anything, whether Tuchel's got something else in mind, you know, whether he's got different type of players that he wants to, you know, use in his team, you know, so that's definitely something to think about. But obviously, Joshua Kimmich can play right back, defensive mid, central midfield. You know, this guy, he can play in such an range of positions, played centre back as well, you know, in the past. Brilliant player, you know, brilliant player. There was a point where I wouldn't say last season, yeah, he was good, but there was a point maybe like a couple of seasons ago, you know, where he was just like at the pinnacle of his game. You know, this guy was just, he was, you know, world class, you know, and he was performing week in, week out, and you just couldn't take anything away from him. I'm not really saying he's fallen off or anything like that. I think fall off would be the wrong word, but whether I would still, I don't know, what, it's a tricky one. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Obviously, listen, do I think he's a top class player? Do I think he's one of the better players out there, or in the top bracket of, you know, players out there in world football? Yes, 100%. There's no two ways about it when it comes to someone like a Kimmich. And really, it's his versatility, you know, that I like quite a lot. You know, on top of, you know, the other abilities that he's got, passing, you know, being able to score goals, you know, making runs into the box when he is in those kind of positions, playing out from the back, those diagonal passes, etc. I do look at things like that and I think he's pretty decent, isn't he? I mean, he's pretty decent. Hence the reason why I would be a little bit shocked. You know, I saw here Bayern Munich could be willing to sell Joshua Kimmich this summer to help fund the move for Harry Kane. It's funny how all of these big clubs are trying to fund the moves for these players. You know, you got Real Madrid who might potentially look at selling Tchouaméni to be able to fund the bid for, you know, Kylian Mbappe. Now you've got Bayern Munich who look like they want to try and, you know, fund that move for Harry Kane. Clearly, they're putting strikers at the top of their wish list, and you know the other players, mainly the central midfielders or midfielders in a general sense, they're the ones who are being sacrificed, you know, in this kind of situation. But ultimately, I guess when you want to get the best, especially when you're talking about Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? So, you know, it is what it is. But anyways, let's dive into Kimmich. You know what he's all about. Now, first thing, before I even dive into it, I see a lot of people talking about Kimmich recently, and a lot of people saying, yeah, well, he's not a six. He can't play in that, you know, that position for Liverpool. And I'm just like, I'm more baffled because, again, it's like, I don't want to come across anyway, but sometimes I do sit here and wonder about people and, you know, when it comes to football at times, because I'm just like, sometimes these things, like the things that we're talking about today, and the thing that people are talking about in a general sense in regards to Kimmich, just like That's all basic information though. Like you've watched Kimmich for years. Like everyone's basically watched Kimmich, even if you just watched him in the Champions League for the last few years. Like you know this guy can play in that position, man. You know he used to be. I mean, he used to be could play right back, then moved into the central midfield. You know, kind of thing. Has played as a centre back, as I mentioned before. Like you might not know the centre back thing, but those two positions, right back and centre midfield, DM especially, you know we can play that. So you know if we're talking about Liverpool here, I, he seamlessly comes into the team. Like I don't even envisage a problem. Like I don't see why that would be, you know, too much of an issue because he'll play alongside a Goretzka. He's more in the team to. He's not there. He can do that kind of box to box thing where he finds himself late runs into the box. So he can do that role from the double pivot position if you want him to do that role. If not, he plays sometimes alongside Goretzka who does that, and then he'll be the one who sits a bit deeper. Who would the one spraying the passes and stuff? He can do both. Do you know what I mean? Like he's quality in that kind of sense. So when people are talking about him and some people saying he doesn't fit, I'm like, but Kone fits, like what Gravenberch fits, like Kefir and Toure. I'm like, you know, without being disingenuous to these guys, like you're talking about one who's at like the quality level of up here to do the same thing that you want all of those guys to do, but you can get the guy who can do it at the ultimate level. Like, but you're saying now because I guess you know, I think maybe it's just one of them things, man. I find it just so weird, you know, just with certain players. Like I said, those players are good. The Kepler and Turan, the Gravenberches, the Quadrocones, who else have been linked? Whoever else, like they're good. Yeah, it doesn't really matter who it actually is. They're all good. Do you get what I mean? They all have their different qualities and stuff like that. But you're talking about Kimmich. Yeah, I mean, talk about guys who won the Champions League, won numerous titles, you know, experience at the top level. You know, like I find that more difficult that people don't really see that because then I'm just like, damn, I thought I was harsh. You know, I said this the other day on Enzo show. Sometimes I feel like people that say I'm negative or I'm harsh or whatever, you know, in regards to certain things, you know, especially when it comes to Liverpool. But Jesus Christ, some of you must have mad standards, you know, like madly high, you know, kind of expectations and standards when you're looking at Kimmich and you're saying, yeah, well, he's just not really. Whew. Do you know what I mean? Considering we're knocking about with you know, the Fabinhos and the Hendersons and the Bytetics and the Mortons and like this is the quality level that we do have. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And we're almost knocking it back. I don't know, man. Not when it comes to talent level like that. I just think that's just not really the right way to go. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, anyways, back to Kimmich. Obviously, when Kimmich first came, you know, to Bayern Munich, obviously Philip Lahm was still there, you know, coming into his last like year or two, I think at Bayern Munich. So Kimmich was kind of there learning from him. And obviously we've seen with Philip Lahm as well, you know, Lahm obviously started out as a fullback. Then obviously when Pep Guardiola came in, he moved into that midfield position. So again, Kimmich was kind of, obviously it was more or less a replica. If I'm being, you know, 100% honest, it was that kind of replica type of thing, you know, when Kimmich obviously come in, Pep Guardiola was obviously there. You know, he began his career as a 20-year-old under Pep Guardiola. So at the beginning, he was playing in that central midfield. So obviously, let's just say roles reversed to Philip Lahm. Obviously, central midfield is obviously Kimmich's like third position. But at that time, he was kind of playing second fiddle to Thiago actually, which was funnily enough. But again, versatile individual, blah blah blah. So it was all good. Obviously, then Carlo Ancelotti's then come in. Once Carlo Ancelotti's come in, you know, at that period of time, again, he wasn't really getting too much kind of game time and stuff like that. But then he, you know, started to play a little bit at right back, you know, under Carlo Ancelotti. And obviously in the midfield position, scored 6 goals from midfield, you know, during that kind of period of time. So you thought, okay, cool. And then obviously Jupp Heynckes came in and then Niko Kovac came in, and then that's where things really started to kind of progress, you know, for excuse me, for Kimmich, you know, especially just after Philip Lahm's retirement. For me, that's when I kind of looked at Kimmich, and you kind of saw again. I don't like using. I don't want to say the passing of the torch because that come like Michael Jordan, LeBron James type of vibe, but it was similar in terms of here you had a player who kind of epitomized, you know, Bayern Munich, you know, again, a player who's versatile, could play left, right. Obviously, talking about Philip Lahm, he could play left back, play right back, play defensive field, you know, he could do all of these roles, you know, fantastic, absolutely fantastic football player, one of the best football players I've ever seen in football in terms of the midfield and the defender. Kimmich was then kind of supposed to be coming into that. obviously his preferred position is to play central midfield. But then again, if you can't get in that position, you got to find another position. You know what I mean? A bit like, it's funny. It's a bit like Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's that you were a midfielder or you are a midfielder by trade kind of thing. That's where you prefer to play most likely, but you're just not good enough to get into that position at this current moment in time. Now, Kimmich obviously proved over time he could get in that position. Trent couldn't until just recently, but you see with someone like Kimmich and Trent, very, very, very similar in terms of development and things like that. Both players kind of going through what they had to kind of go through. Obviously, Trent kind of got that hard schooling of, you coming in, he was getting slaughtered, man was just getting absolutely just ruined, on that playing on that right back position, but he had to learn the hard way under Jurgen Klopp. And then Kimmich, again, just not really playing that much at all. So again, you're having to learn that kind of hard way, having to learn that it's not always going to be easy for yourself. You know what I mean? It's not always going to be a situation where you're going to be the main guy. You're going to have to fight your way through. But again, he's played under some brilliant, brilliant managers. Just having a look here, Pep Guardiola, the Carlo Ancelotti's, you got Pines, Niko Kovac, Hansi Flick. Do you get what I mean? And obviously Nagelsmann, now Tuchel. He's played under so many different types of managers. But I think under Flick, that's where he kind of became the first choice, defensive midfielder. And then that's when we really started to see. And that's why I was so confused when people saying, that, someone like a Kimmich can't play in that sixth position, because I said, nah, man. I mean, if we look here again, we look at the positioning, this is for Bayern, the season. You can see it here, playing, this is a 3-4-2-1 formation. He's playing in that midfield two with Jamal Musiala. Musiala is obviously going to be the more attacking of the two. Again, you've got Alphonso Davies and Joao Cancelo, both left and right. Again, they're going to be pushing up quite a bit, so he's going to have to drop in. Again, where you've got Benjamin Pavard who can slot into right back position, Kimmich has got to slot into that centre back position to help out in transition, just in case they lose the ball and all these kind of various things. Musiala might not bomb forward as much, but he is the one that you're going to be looking for in those kind of attacking areas and almost the link man between the midfield and the attack. So when you're looking at someone like a Kimmich, he's got to play that role. So again, it's why I was so baffled when people are saying it. Here again, 4-1-4-1 formation. He's the only guy in the pivot here. Like, he's literally the only one in the sixth, in this game. Again, same thing, 3-1-4-2. Again, it's always going to be Joshua Kimmich who's going to play that deeper role. So again, in a nutshell, obviously here he could play in that double pivot if you want him to. So again, Leon Goretzka, as I mentioned before, he would play alongside him, or Gravenberch has played, I think, once or twice with him. Musiala, obviously, if he's not playing in that forward area kind of thing. If you're talking about it for Liverpool, guys, I promise you, it's a calm signing. Like, there's these hipsters that everybody wants. The Florentino Luis, like I mentioned, Kefram Turams and the Gravenberches, and all of these other guys. João Paulinho, who's a player that I really, really like. This is another player that we should be adding to the list. Like, and we shouldn't even be hesitating. Do you get what I mean? This is the player who build up play. The play can go through him now, like, and him and Trent can do the long passing. Like, we'll get into, let's get into his stats real quick, just so that you guys can kind of see what I'm even talking about. Like, when we're looking at his stats, obviously you guys, fbref.com, I think is, you guys can obviously check this out for your damn selves. If you can't obviously see this on the screen, if anything, just pause it. You can see it, but get this up if you can on another tab. Passes completed, passes attempted, total passing distance, progressive passing distance, passes completed medium, passes attempted, passes completed long. This guy is ranking in the 99 or 98th percentile for these things. Come on. I'm not worried about it when it comes to the passing. It's the passes into final third, passes into the penalty area, key passes, expected assists. This is for a midfielder, by the way. These stats are versus other midfielders in world football. Come on, people, man. Come on. I don't need Trent to do all of that. Did you get about it? He can do both things. This is why I'm super duper confused as to why people don't necessarily think so. Again, just taking a look here, this is more like the base tactics. Even defending in itself, interceptions, he ranked in the 85th. Progressive passes, pretty decent. It's only progressive carries. He's not, I guess, would I say, great in regards to other midfielders out there, but it's the role that he's playing. If you're playing a deeper role, I guess you don't really need to be that. But then again, it just comes to context of whether or not the team requires you to do, those kind of things anyway. Do you get what I mean? I mean, I'll take a look at other stats here. Defensive stats. Obviously, again, this is up against other midfielders, tackles in the mid third, interceptions, as I mentioned before, even tackles won and tackles in a general sense, dribblers tackled, uh, dribbles challenged. Remember, guys, he's playing for Bayern Munich, so the likelihood of some of this stuff even happening is so low that they're not even in comparison to other players. He might not even get that many opportunities to do most of these kind of things. So it's all about context, but again, the stats are there. You know what I mean? You read them and you kind of take it however you feel, you need to take it. But yeah, man, like touches in defensive third, touches mid third, touches attacking third, carries in a general sense, total carrying distance, like passes received. Yo, man, he's an all-round player. I don't really know, what kind of best way to describe someone like a Kimmich in that kind of sense, in terms of whether or not you feel that he could be an option for Liverpool. He should be the main option for Liverpool. We shouldn't even be looking at anybody else. It should be, let's go and get him for, again, the price might be a sticking point. I don't know how much it would cost to get someone like a Kimmich, but for me, I'm looking at Kimmich and I'm like, if Liverpool were ever to sign, someone like a Kimmich, amazing, that type of quality, a player who can do the passing, the player who can play in that deeper role if I need him to play, a player who can play in a 4-3-3 system as the lone six. Let's bring, that's quality. All the other people, I'm not convinced that they can do that, or they're so inexperienced at doing so that you don't really know. You don't really know. Again, this is just a little bit. We're looking at his style of play. This is just a little bit into his actual, role and things like that. When he's playing in the central midfield. This is obviously posted out by Pythagorean Boots. I think it's Pythagorean Boots. Take another look again. Pythagoras in Boots. Make sure you guys obviously check them out. They are very, very, very good page. They do quite a lot of analysis on players and all that kind of good stuff as well. So yeah, make sure you guys obviously check them out. So here they're talking about Kimmich. Kimmich plays in a double pivot midfield for Bayern alongside Goretzka. His role is to play deep alongside his defenders, trying which provides cover to his fullbacks who move forward to support their attackers. His play mostly depends on how much time and space he has on the ball. If he is pressed by opposing players, then it's simple distribution off ball from, can't read that bottom bit, from one flank to another. So again, just a little look into what he has to do in that central, midfield role. And again, when he's at right back, Kimmich, when he plays at the right back, likes to go deep towards the byline. When he reaches it, he tries to put in crosses in dangerous position. His position awareness is superb, and he knows what is going on around him, and takes most of the empty spaces on the flanks created by its wingers. The main problem for defenders arises when he gets the possession in those half spaces. He can either make a darting run towards the goalkeeper and go for a shot, or can play a long ball towards the free man on the left hand side. Versatility. We already done know when it comes to them type of things there. That's what Klopp loves. The Klopp loves a guy who's just versatile. Hence the reason why I'm not understanding why some people are like, just a bit like, meh, I don't really know. Again, it's almost like the Pavard thing. I'm like, how are people saying, meh, I don't really, like, seriously, guys, come on, man. Like, these are, obviously, this is just my opinion, I guess, anyway. So really, I'm just being a tad bit biased when it does come to these kind of players. Because I've watched these players. We all watch these players for years. It's just those type of players I would just love to have in the team. Like, just to know that, one, we can attract that type of player. And when you're able to attract that type of player who's still able to perform at that kind of level, I'm just like, yo, man, like we gotta somehow get involved. Like, some way, shape, or form, we have got to get involved. Take a look a bit more deeper into his kind of like style of play. Through being able to cover both fullbacks and wide forwards, even if him doing so towards the right is more common, Kimmich essentially epitomizes what is required to excel in a double pivot. I should have highlighted that at the very highest level, particularly in a team featuring a number 10. So obviously Liverpool got those kind of hybrid 8s and 10s. There you go. His presence is largely why Bayern's fullbacks advance at the same time. There is perhaps no other player capable of providing so much quality to so many areas of the pitch. His defensive contributions, particularly after Bayern have lost possession and he provides protection at the point of transition, have proven similarly valuable. His position means he is capable of covering attempts to advance from either of Bayern's wide forwards or fullbacks and to contribute if they are defending with a compact block, whether via a higher press or a mid block. Again, are we hearing anything that is making anybody think, yeah, you know what? Not really feeling him. Like I'm telling, honestly, I do promise you, this is a very, very good player. This is his heat map before we even continue. This is his heat map, for last season. Everywhere, absolutely everywhere. In the defensive midfield position, in the central midfield position, in that attacking midfield position. See him over here at centre back, right back, left. The guy's everywhere. Heat map just looking crazy, just on fire. This is what I'm saying, but it's also that level of versatility. It's also being able to play out from the back. It's also about being comfortable defending in wide areas, being comfortable defending in central areas, in transition, attacking and defending. He can do all of these various different things. And then on top of that, you've then got a guy who's banging at passing. So then you're just like, do you get what I mean? Like, I just, like, for me, it just makes total sense. Honestly, it does genuinely make total sense as to why we would potentially, I'm not saying that this is true, this is all just rumors, and I don't really ever listen to the rumors and stuff like that, if I'm being honest, because most of it is just lies. But if that was a player that you would try to think, well, where could he go? Liverpool would be a good option. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, there's Manchester City as well, but I feel like Liverpool, we can utilize those kind of attributes, in our team, especially alongside Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, I've got no problem, personally with that. But again, it is what it is. If we continue here, we'll quickly just finish off, obviously, with his style of play. Through having to adopt that deeper position, Kimmich's ability to access Bayern's wide forwards can become compromised. So his ability to instead feed their advancing fullbacks and their overlapping runs, Fonzo Davis particularly, becomes increasingly influential. Obviously, we've got that already with Robbo. Robbo likes to bomb forward like there's no man's business. So again, doing this already, it helps. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It can help potentially, in our team. Kimmich's biggest strength, regardless, is the fact that he can use his many qualities in so many different areas of the pitch. Only an individual with his technical qualities and intelligence would prove capable of performing so many position-specific tasks with the quality and efficiency he shows. I could read on and on and on and on. There's so much on Joshua Kimmich in terms of like scout reports and where he plays and different things and all this kind of, blah, blah, blah. Like all of that kind of stuff. There's so much on him because of the level of versatility and because he's so good in all of these kind of roles. I wanted to show everybody just quickly a couple things actually. So this is Kimmich in the 17-18 season, yeah? Played as a right back. So this is him in the right back. 17-18 season, played 44 games as a right back. Got 17 assists alongside 6 goals, which then puts him at 23 goals and assists in 44 games. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't know what Trent's record is in terms of in a season. I don't know if he's got that many. I'll definitely, I might even just quickly take a quick look, as I'm even on stream, right this very second. People in the chat, they can obviously let me know. But I don't feel like Trent has ever got 23 goals and assists, but maybe he has. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. I'm not trying to disrespect Trent, by the way, in terms of saying, oh yeah, what he can't, that's what he can't do. But because obviously this was in all competitions, so I'm taking a quick look to see if Trent has ever actually done that. We've got the 1920 season from Trent. Nope, that was 15 goals. 50, yeah, right. 15 assists, 4 goals, which is obviously only 19 altogether. That's in the 1920 season. 21-22 season. Trent got 19 assists with 2 goals. So that's obviously put him at 21. So again, a lot of assists. He did get a lot of assists. He got more than obviously Kimmich has got, but he only got 2 goals. So yeah, it's one of them ones. Like Kimmich has obviously had a better season. I think that's probably Trent's best ever season in terms of all competitions anyway. But again, not to put shade on Trent Alexander-Arnold, because Trent is obviously younger and Kimmich has obviously been able to play in that kind of position, in the midfield area. So he has that kind of license as well to do those kind of things. And the onus kind of is on him to get these goals. But it was just to show everybody like, yo, this is a guy who's getting you lots of goals and assists from whether it be from deep, whether it be in the central midfield, whether it be from the wide right position. But again, as he says here, in that 17-18 season, he basically played as a right back that whole season. So for you to then again get those kind of Trent numbers, I mean, he scored more goals in the bloody Champions League than he did in his own league, and he played more than double the amount of games. That's crazy. That's super duper crazy. Then we get to the 22, 23, 21, 22 season. Then he starts moving into that defensive midfield position. Again, 37 times as a defensive midfielder, 2 times as a right back in all competitions. Then last season, defensive midfield, again, 46 times. So it was just more to show everybody, like, this guy can play that position, and he can play that position really, really well. So maybe we've just got to dispel that kind of, oh yeah, he can't really do this and that and whatnot. I don't know where it came from, but it just kind of not frustrated me, but I was just so baffled. I had to genuinely ask, like, why does everyone think he can't play that position? Like that is his more or less his position. Like his position that I know him more so as, if I'm being totally honest, in terms of when I started really focusing, on someone like a Kimmich, because that's when he started to really hit that kind of top level. Like that's the kind of, positioning. But again, it is what it is. It is what it is. Obviously, he did play for Stuttgart before obviously joining RB Leipzig. It's even funny, I see this picture the other day. I had to put this up. Obviously, this is a picture of Timo Werner's in there, Gnabry's in there, and obviously the captain is Joshua Kimmich. I don't know who the other guy is. He does look a little bit familiar. Let me know who that is in the chat, please, people. But it's just funny seeing all of these guys, and then Kimmich, then moving on to Bayern Munich. Timo Werner's obviously then moved on to RB Leipzig, where obviously Kimmich actually then moved on to himself. Gnabry obviously then moved to Arsenal, then has obviously gone back to Bayern Munich, via Hoffenheim and West Brom, and all of these kind of various different things. It's just crazy, man. That German setup is really, really good, really, really good. Like don't ever underestimate that German setup, especially back then. Anyway, that kind of setup that they had was quite phenomenal. If I'm being totally honest with you. Last but not least, before we head out of here, looking at his injury record, I mean, looks pretty decent. He did spend a bit of time out back, especially in that 2021 season. You can see there, there's 11 games there, that he's missed. 21-22 season, mostly just Corona, to be honest with you. But fairly all right to be fair. It's really just in that 2021 season where he missed those 10 games due to meniscus damage, but he's had gastric problems. It's just fitness, really and truly. I think he'd be someone who would do a good job. I'm not saying he might be the best option again. Best option for me might not be necessarily a Kimmich, but if we're asking for a good option for someone who might be actually available, hey man, do you get? I mean, I don't think we can do any worse. Yeah, do you get what I'm trying to say? I mean, if we're already being linked to players like Calvin Phillips, with no disrespect to Calvin Phillips, he hasn't been relevant since he was at Leeds. I don't know about all of that, man. I'd rather get Joshua Kimmich. I'd rather just spend that money and get a Joshua Kimmich, because I know when you're getting a Joshua Kimmich in comparison to, say, a Calvin Phillips, I'm getting a player who's at that top level. I'm not getting a player who I don't know if he's even at that top level. He's never actually been a top level player. He's been someone who was making that trajectory when he was at Leeds, and then he moved to Manchester City. Things kind of stalled over there, but he's never reached that top level. So we don't know if he can ever even reach it anyway, or if that Leeds kind of stint was his best, which was pretty okay. But Kimmich, Calvin Phillips, like, nah, man, come on, man. We've got to be serious, man. I think we've got to be a lot more serious than, what we're being told. I'm not saying that you guys want him, but I'm just saying if those are the players we've been linked with, amongst others, honestly, I just feel that there's levels to this, man. And Joshua Kimmich for me is a level in himself, man. Versatile individual, right back, centre back, defensive midfield, central midfield. Guy can do it all, man. Guy can do it all. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Joshua Kimmich might be a dumb question I'm asking, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you think, or would you like to see, him at the football club? Do you think he is a good player? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm G, and we are outie.